Yes, yes, yes. It is your host, Spark Vizsla. Well, for Moonday Monday, today we won't have a lot to go over. Not a lot of things to get you out there and get you moving to really talk about. So I'll keep it short. But I will give you a few nuggets, not too many, because a lot of details are still coming in. Trump has selected a Flat Earther Society member to lead his NASA. I'm joking. See, I joke about that now, but that may turn out to be true later on. I don't even want to rest on that right now. Okay, moving on. First of all, this podcast will sway across the political spectrum. It's not going to be one way or the other. So if you're on either side of the political spectrum, be sure to give that dislike button a pound. And so we begin. First, let me start off by saying a lot of people, oh no, I don't want to sound like Kanye West saying, oh, a lot of people felt like they lost. That was just one sad rant. He started off okay, saying, oh, you've been lied to by Facebook and Google and whatnot, and there's kind of sort of some truth to that. However, my biggest thing is this. Trump didn't win. I'm not even talking about the popular vote. It was more so that Hillary lost. From day one, I remember seeing a lot of people being down about it, and I'm going to make this super quick because, like the Kanye thing, you didn't come here for political diatribe, but this kind of does need to be said given most of my listeners, I'm sorry, I shouldn't say my because I don't know you. Most of the people that take time out of their day to listen to me fill their heads with words on space and science tend to live in very liberal areas, primarily SF. So with that, I gotta say this. Trump didn't win, Hillary simply lost. That was the downfall for the Democrats this year. And a lot of people would say, oh no, what was it? Oh yes, evil, well-off white men voted for him. Both college-educated and non-college educated. And women also he won with. He did very well with them, surprisingly. Wow. And so, when you first see those charts and whatnot, it's very easy to think, oh wow, white people, they go out and vote for Trump and they have negative racial bigoted mindsets. This country, kind of was founded on a lot. If you haven't opened an American history book, it's too late for me to inform you of our past at this point. But if you look at your past, you're not going to be too surprised at the current state of America. However, that's not why he won. He didn't win because, and you're going to see how this ties in, I promise, how it ties into space and science. He did not win because, Republicans did a great get out the vote campaign. Young alt-right wingers didn't come out in droves. Sure, they said, on 4chan, what was it? Oh yeah, go ahead and vote for God Emperor Trump. Hook. Okay, they probably didn't have the hook to him, but I'm a fan of Goofy. And anywho, what happened was Democrats stayed at home. If you look at previous elections, you'll see the Republicans, they're fairly consistent. They've been consistent for a while on their voting numbers. Democrats, man, it's like reading a Marvel Comics issue 1, issue 2, and then it just falls off, the sales numbers falls off a cliff after issue 2. Seriously. So okay, Barack Obama, yeah, he does great on his first one. All right, great numbers. Second one, numbers aren't quite there. They didn't go Republican, but there's just a lot less Democrats voting. Then boom, we have this election. There's a few million Democrats that stayed at home. A few million. So, personally, this isn't something of, oh no, the evil Republicans got him into power. No, the Democrats let him in to power. And that's what this comes down to. staying at home and letting things happen that you don't want to happen. A lot of people will say, oh, well, how does that relate? Listen, if you just stay at home for any topic, it's not going to go the way you want. If you love math and science, if you love space and exploration, hey, and I'm not saying you have to go out to Elon Musk, and like try and vote on like who gets to go to Mars or anything like that. But, like do be a part of the process. Oh, hey, you feel a certain way on climate change? Hey, look up NASA's climate change studies, Start putting out information on why it's good. Start getting pamphlets ready for like when you call people up in those different swing states. Because unlike if the Republicans had lost, when the Democrats lose, they tend to be more educated in their response, is the best way I could put it. Not to say that, Republicans are dumb or anything, but if you look at the bastions of blue areas, or blue zones as folks call it, it's more so like really, not only necessarily liberal, but it's very well educated. So you're going to see people calling up swing states over the next few years. You're going to see people getting folks into school board. You're going to see people getting ready to fill those seats during midterms. And if you are a fan, not even necessarily a fan, but if you just like space and science, heck, learn something about it, so like when you talk to other people, you can educate them on it. And let's get you to that point. So, in terms of Trump's pick for who's going to lead NASA into the ground, it probably will be a flat earther. He didn't really seem to want, I can't say he didn't want to win, but despite all of his talk, he didn't really have the preparation for victory. None of his issues were really settled. It was just, oh yeah, build wall. That was it. Drain the swamp, which he's already proving not to do at all, because he's filling it with, who was it? I forget who it was, but they said it in a very good way. He's filling it with swamp monsters. So, given who he picked for the EPA, if he picks a flat earther, I'm just calling it now, folks. Do not be surprised. Do not be surprised. However, regardless of who he picks, here's a few ways it could go. One, we're going to need star power. We're going to have to make... okay. We're going to have to, and I hate to say this, in order for space to survive under a Trump presidency, we would have to pimp out science and space. Okay, wow, that would be... Okay, yeah, I'm having issues imagining that in my head now. Literally, I'm imagining like somebody pimping out space itself. Which I guess Trump probably would. That actually makes sense now. Oh dear, that makes sense. So, pretty much we're going to have to make space more appealing for it to survive funding cuts. Either that, or we're going to have to move toward crowdfunding. In terms of making it survive the discretionary cuts that are being talked about, well, for one, we would need a lot of captains of industries like Biggie Lowe, the United Launch Alliance. Sorry, I'm just Boeing and Lockheed are the ULA. And even like the Russians. I respect Russia. I really like them. They usually have been good motivators in the past for technological advancements here in the U.S., like the space race, getting other anywho, main point being is Biggie Lowe came out the other day and said, hey, if you should increase NASA's spending by twice as much. So we do have people vouching. Elon hasn't really made any like big, anywho, we really need that sort of commitment to people saying, hey, this is why you should increase this budget. And us little folks, we have a different fight to fight at the moment. But if you're a captain of industry, if you're a researcher, get out there and start, like promoting yourself. Get out there and say, hey, here's why we should increase the budget. But in order for that to work, and this is what I meant by the term pimping out, we would have to, how do you say, not necessarily dumb down, but definitely make an appealing case for the next 4 years. Like, we would literally have to make a project that can get done within 4 to 8 years. Because if he can't take credit for it, he's not going to do it. If that wall takes 10 years, he's not going to do it. He's just going to sit around and say, oh, well, the Democrats are blocking me in the Congress. And Republicans would believe it too, despite they have a majority. And he'd say, oh, well, 10 years? Oh, here's an excuse. And he probably would just like walk away from it and not even care. So if you can make a space project within the next 4 years, for example, people are talking about going to the moon. As you can tell by the title Moonday Monday, and Monday is based off of Moonday, or lunes, or how's it pronounced in Spanish? Well, either way, the moon is based around Monday. So as you can tell, I always enjoy watching Lady Selene glide across the cosmic stage. However, I didn't think we'd be going back this fast. Because we are going there next year, and next year is coming up quite fast, with Moon Express and several other members of the Google Lunar X Prize. However, actually setting somebody back on the moon, that will be interesting. And this would be a multi-corporational effort. Not even sure if that's a word. Either way, numerous corporations could pitch in on this, saying, hey, let's go back to the moon, but let's take a bunch of stuff with us and do a bunch of cool things. Something to that regard. Not saying that it'll necessarily work, or grab the upcoming administration's attention, but it would be good for space overall. If we could break projects down into a few years instead of a few decades, like getting Philae onto the comet, which is now rest in peace. But before, it died out, before it stopped transmitting, before everybody did backflips over the guy's shirt, before we launched, this was, I believe it was over a decade in the making. And this isn't, and that, it makes sense, even the Bennu project, that's been going on for years. And it's going to take many more years for us to get any sort of results back, and more years to get samples back, and actually several more years to understand those samples. So if we could have something that's, hey, look, here's a space project that gets done, not even necessarily, it doesn't even have to get done, but you see progress from it within a few years rather than, a decade. Like, if we could get, like, a portion of a space project done each year, not even talking about under the incoming administration, I mean under any administration, that would show that there's a better pipeline and workflow for space exploration, which in itself is an awesomely needed thing. So get better space pipelining on, and we're going to be in a good spot. Somewhat. We definitely aren't in the position to say, oh, well, let's just go to the moon just because, because I mean, like Elon, he's saying, oh yeah, we're going to be on Mars by X amount of date. And he's, hey, if he says that, hey, we'll see where he goes. I have been saying NASA likely will stick to a moon first building out protocol like their old moon-based project, which would be the leapfrog to Mars. That still may go that route. However, we'll see how it actually goes. In terms of actually, us landing on any planet, well, we have to Never thought I'd be an advocate. Well, I've always been an advocate, for space and science and whatnot, but I never thought I'd be saying this expecting anybody to listen to me. But we need to actually get the public interested in space. Okay, that wasn't so bad. One of the ways you do that is actually I hate to say merchandising and turning this into a whole corporate thing, but definitely if we can get the public interested, it's going to be an easier fight for space and human exploration into the cosmos. I'm going to end on this note, and that is, well, there's not there's not a lot of good things to really end on. However, there is one. You. If you are listening to this podcast, if you have made it and survived for 16 minutes, first of all, well done. Secondly, that means you are able to hear, and I know people will call ableism on this one, but you're here. That is what counts. Whether you're reading this on a screen, whether you're listening to it, whether you're feeling it across from a Braille machine. I wonder if they have a Braille to audio. Well, okay, this is why. I'm not even sure why I'm a podcaster. I just always go off the trail, even when I'm on a good part. Anywho, you are here. And that in itself is a very important stepping stone for your next steps. You might not be in the best mood. You might not be in the worst mood either. But you are here and understand in this moment you have power to do things. Ask yourself. Sure, you can't go in and pick who becomes the candidate for NASA, but for the administrator or to head it during his administration. But you can think about, oh, hey, what draws me to space? Why do I love space? What can I do locally for space? Oh, Chabot Space and Science. Can I take a kid there? Do I have nephews? Can I get them interested into space? Anything that you can do, and it may not seem like a lot now, and that's totally fine. When people way back when, were fighting their battle, be it, in the fields of Japan as a samurai, or in the streets, as a civil rights protester. In that moment, every little moment, looking back, is very small in comparison to the canvas of their life and the canvas of their accomplishments. But also remember, in the moment of our lives, this little moment right here does seem like a tiny speck out in the starry night. But when you go a little closer, those tiny specks become great suns. It is my hope that you have enjoyed this podcast. Moonday Monday will be back at you next Monday, and it will have a few more nuggets for you to go on, but definitely expect to hear some guest interviews and whatnot. Gonna go out and not necessarily poll, but get some more information from the audience, saying, hey, what do you want to hear? What are you worried about? What are you hopeful for? So if you have a question, if you have a comment, hit me on Twitter @SparkVisla. Leave me your questions, leave me your salt, whatever you got, you know where to deposit it. Until next time, friend, be well.